Part 5. 3 weeks had passed since the dramatic revelation in the council chamber. Lisa stood in what would soon become the Earth Embassy on Unity Station, watching construction crews work together. Humans and aliens labored side by side, communicating through translators and hand gestures, building something that represented hope for the future. It still felt surreal to her, like a dream she might wake from at any moment. The council had voted after 5 days of intense debate. The decision had not been unanimous, but it had been clear enough. Humanity would be recognized as a legitimate galactic species and granted membership in the Galactic Council. It was more than Lisa had dared hope for. She had expected months or even years of negotiations, careful diplomacy, and gradual acceptance. Instead, the mystery surrounding humanity's past had actually helped their case. The Council wanted to understand humans, and you could not understand someone while keeping them at arm's length. Still processing everything? Jake Sullivan's voice came from behind her. Lisa turned to find her old friend carrying 2 cups of something that smelled vaguely like coffee. She accepted one gratefully. Every single day, sometimes every single hour, we left Earth expecting to spend decades searching for any sign of intelligent life. Instead, we found an entire galactic civilization within the first year of active searching. And they found us, Jake added, taking a sip from his cup. Or refound us, I guess. The whole time travel angle still makes my brain hurt. Helen is still working on that puzzle, Lisa said, gesturing toward the science wing of the developing embassy. She and Counselor Vess have become quite the research team. They are analyzing ancient texts from a dozen different civilizations, trying to piece together exactly what future humans did during their visits. Any progress? Some. Apparently, future humans showed up during major crisis points. Wars, environmental disasters, technological dead ends. They provided just enough help to get civilizations past the crisis, then disappeared. But they never stayed long, never shared too much, and never explained where they came from. Sounds like they were following some kind of protocol, Jake observed. Like they knew they could not change too much without affecting their own timeline. That is Helen's theory, too. But we will not know for certain until we actually develop time travel ourselves, which might be never or might be 10,000 years from now. The timeline is unclear, Jake laughed. Timeline. Good one. Lisa smiled despite herself. After 3 weeks of intense negotiations, cultural exchanges, and enough diplomatic meetings to make her head spin, she appreciated moments of lightness. The work ahead was enormous. Humanity had to establish relationships with dozens of different species, each with their own customs, laws, and expectations. They had to set up permanent embassies on multiple worlds. They had to negotiate trade agreements, technology-sharing protocols, and mutual defense pacts. But they were doing it. Slowly, carefully, but successfully. How did the meeting with the Xanthari military go? Lisa asked. Better than expected, Jake replied. Commander Kelvin is genuinely fascinated by human military history. We spent 3 hours discussing naval tactics of all things. He was especially interested in submarine warfare. Apparently, most species never developed underwater combat because their homeworlds had smaller oceans than Earth. They want joint training exercises, I heard. Not just training. Kelvin suggested an exchange program. Xanthari officers serving on human ships, human officers serving on theirs, learning from each other's strengths and methods. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. That could work. It would build trust, show both sides that we are serious about cooperation. Run it past Admiral Bennett when you next report to the fleet. Will do. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the construction. A Plixin engineer was showing a human technician how to properly seal a power conduit. Neither spoke the other's language fluently yet, but they were making it work through patience and gestures. Captain, may I interrupt? Helen Carter approached, carrying a data tablet and looking unusually excited. I have something you need to see. What is it? The Council has proposed something extraordinary. They want to send a joint expedition to Earth. Lisa blinked. To Earth? Why? To see where we come from, Helen explained, her eyes shining. Multiple species have volunteered ships and crew. They want to study our homeworld, learn about human culture and history firsthand. Speaker Thora suggested it during yesterday's session. She argued that if humans truly did travel from the future, then Earth might contain clues to technologies that have not been invented yet. That is quite an assumption, Jake said skeptically. Maybe, Helen admitted, but it is also an incredible gesture. Think about what it means. They are willing to send valuable resources and personnel on a journey lasting years, just to understand us better. That is a level of commitment you cannot fake. Lisa considered this. An alien expedition to Earth, it would be unprecedented. Humanity had left Earth behind when they departed on this mission, knowing they would likely never return during their lifetimes. The journey back would take another 140 years. But for the aliens with their own crews in suspended animation, it would be a reasonable investment. What would they do when they arrived? Lisa asked. Study mostly. Document human history, culture, and biology. Look for any hints about our future development. And establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth's government, of course. Right now, we only represent the exploration fleet. Eventually, the home government will need direct contact with the Council. They will be disappointed, Lisa said quietly. Earth is not as advanced as most Council worlds. We still have poverty, political conflicts, environmental problems. We are still figuring things out. Which makes us more relatable, not less, Helen countered. Every species in the Council went through growing pains. They understand that development takes time. What matters is that we survived our challenges and reached for the stars. That takes courage, and the Council respects courage. Lisa made her decision. All right. Tell Speaker Thora that we support the expedition. We will provide whatever data about Earth they need for the journey. Navigation charts, cultural briefings, everything, Faye. Thank you, Captain. I will inform her immediately. As Helen hurried off, Jake turned to Lisa with a thoughtful expression. You realize what this means, right? By the time that expedition reaches Earth and returns here, we will all be long dead. Our grandchildren might not even be alive to see it. I know, Lisa said softly. But we are not doing this for ourselves. We are doing it for everyone who comes after us. We are building bridges that will last for generations. A chime sounded on Lisa's communicator. Captain Morgan, this is Speaker Thora. Do you have a moment? Of course, Speaker. What can I do for you? I wanted to personally invite you to a ceremony tomorrow. The Council is officially recognizing Earth as a sovereign world and humanity as a member species of the galactic community. Your presence would honor us. Lisa felt a surge of emotion. This was really happening. After all the uncertainty, all the challenges, all the risks, humanity was being welcomed. The honor would be mine, Speaker. Thank you. That evening, Lisa stood alone on an observation deck, looking out at the combined fleet. Human ships and alien vessels floated together in space, their different designs creating a beautiful tapestry against the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth continued spinning around its sun, completely unaware that humanity had found its place among the stars. She thought about future humans, the ones who had visited this region of space 15,000 years ago. What had they known? What had they seen? Had they stood where she was standing now, looking at similar ships, feeling similar emotions? Maybe she would never know the answers to those questions. Maybe no one would, not for thousands of years. But that was okay. The mystery was part of being human. Always wondering, always exploring, always reaching for something just beyond grasp. Captain, you should get some rest, Jake said, finding her there. Big day tomorrow. I know. I just needed a moment to let everything sink in. And has it? Lisa smiled. Not even close. I do not think I will fully process this for years, maybe never. We left Earth hoping to find proof that we were not alone in the universe. Instead, we found an entire civilization that had been waiting for us without knowing it. We found legends made real, mysteries without answers, and a future full of possibilities. Not bad for a century and a half of travel, Jake said with a grin. Not bad at all. The next day, the ceremony was held in the Grand Council chamber. Representatives from every major species attended, along with dignitaries from hundreds of civilizations. Lisa stood with her delegation wearing her dress uniform, feeling the weight of the moment. Speaker Thora floated at the center of the chamber, her tentacles moving in patterns that Lisa now recognized as ceremonial gestures. Today we acknowledge what our ancestors knew but we had forgotten. Humanity is real. Humanity is here. And humanity is welcome among us. The chamber filled with sounds of approval from dozens of different species. Lisa felt tears threatening and forced them back. She was supposed to be professional, diplomatic, composed, but it was hard when you were witnessing something you had dreamed about your entire life. Captain Lisa Morgan, on behalf of humanity, do you? Part 4. Lisa stood in the center of the Grand Council chamber, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. The chamber was even more impressive from the inside than it had appeared on sensors. Ancient stone mixed with advanced technology in ways that suggested thousands of years of accumulated history. This was a place where empires had risen and fallen, where wars had been prevented and alliances forged. And now, humanity's future would be decided here. Speaker Thora floated in her suspension pod, her pale silver tentacles moving in slow, graceful patterns. Lisa had studied what little information they had about Velcrin body language during the shuttle ride. The movements suggested curiosity mixed with caution. That was fair. Lisa felt exactly the same way. "Captain Morgan," Thora began, her translated voice filling the chamber with surprising warmth. "You have claimed to represent humanity, a species we believed existed only in legend. This is a significant claim. Before we proceed further, I must ask you to help us understand. Where have you been? Why do our histories speak of humans as beings from the distant past?" Lisa had prepared for this question, but standing here now, facing the reality of the situation, she suddenly felt the inadequacy of any answer she might give. "Speaker Thora, members of the Council, I will be completely honest with you. We do not know why your histories mention humans. Until 6 days ago, we believed we were alone in the universe. We have been searching for other intelligent life for over a century, traveling through empty space hoping to find someone, anyone, who might answer our calls." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Our planet Earth sits in a region of space that you apparently call the empty zone. It is isolated, far from any major star clusters. We developed slowly, achieving basic space travel only about 300 years ago. For most of our history, we were confined to our single world, looking up at the stars and wondering if we were alone." A large alien that resembled an armored rhinoceros stood up. His voice was deep and challenging. "Yet you arrive with 500 warships. That does not suggest a species simply seeking friendship." "Counselor Dravix, I believe," Lisa said, recognizing him from the briefing materials Commander Kelvin had provided. "You are correct that we brought a large fleet. But consider our position. We had no idea what we would find when we reached this region of space. We hoped for peace, but we prepared for any possibility. Every one of those ships is primarily designed for exploration and colonization, not conquest. Yes, they have weapons because traveling through unknown space without defenses would be foolish. But we did not come here to make war. How can we trust your words?" asked the insectoid Counselor Mirith. "You appear from nowhere, matching descriptions from ancient legends that we cannot verify. You claim peaceful intentions while displaying military strength. Forgive our skepticism." Before Lisa could respond, Dr. Helen Carter stepped forward. "Counselor, may I address the Council?" Lisa nodded permission. Helen had been eager to discuss something she had discovered during their journey to the station. "Thank you, Captain," Helen said, then turned to face the Council. "My name is Dr. Helen Carter. I am a historian and scientist specializing in ancient cultures. During our approach to this station, I was able to intercept and translate some of your public broadcasts. I learned about your legends concerning humans, and I requested access to your historical archives. Commander Kelvin was kind enough to provide some ancient texts." Helen activated her portable display, projecting images that everyone in the chamber could see. "These are excerpts from your oldest records. Multiple civilizations, separated by thousands of light years and thousands of years of time, all have similar stories about human visitors. The descriptions are remarkably consistent. Beings who walked on 2 legs, had 2 eyes, possessed great knowledge, and helped civilizations during times of crisis before disappearing." "We know our own legends, Doctor," Mirith said impatiently. "What is your point?" "My point, Counselor, is that these are not legends. They are historical records." Helen's voice filled with excitement that she could barely contain. "I compared the dates mentioned in different texts. I analyzed the astronomical references. The mathematics is complex, but the conclusion is clear. According to your own records, humans visited this region of space approximately 15,000 years ago." The chamber erupted into noise. Council members argued with each other, voices rising in multiple languages that the translation system struggled to keep up with. Speaker Thora had to raise all her tentacles and flash a bright light from her pod to restore order. "Dr. Carter," Thora said carefully, "are you suggesting that humans traveled through time?" "I am not suggesting anything about time travel, Speaker. I am simply reporting what your own historical records show. Humans were here 15,000 years ago. That is documented fact according to multiple independent sources. But that is impossible. Lisa said, speaking up despite her shock. 15,000 years ago, humans were still hunter-gatherers on Earth. We had just discovered agriculture. We had no writing, no cities, certainly no spacecraft. We could not possibly have traveled to this region of space. And yet, according to these records, someone did. Helen replied. Someone who looked like us, called themselves human, and possessed technology far beyond what this council has even today. Counselor Vess stood, his 4 eyes wide with scientific fascination. Dr. Carter, may I examine your analysis? Of course. Helen transmitted her data to Vess's console. The chamber fell silent as Vess reviewed the information. His expression shifted from skepticism to surprise to something approaching awe. This is extraordinary, he finally said. Dr. Carter's mathematics are sound. The astronomical references in the ancient texts clearly indicate a time period approximately 15,000 years in your past. And the descriptions of human technology in those texts describe capabilities we do not possess even now. Then who were they? Dravix demanded. If modern humans are just beginning space travel, who visited our ancestors? We do not know, Lisa admitted. This is as much a mystery to us as it is to you. But it explains why you have legends about humans. Someone who called themselves human really did visit you. We just do not know who they were or where they came from. Jake Sullivan, who had been quietly observing until now, spoke up. Maybe we should be asking when they came from, not where. All eyes turned to him. Think about it, Jake continued. Dr. Carter's data proves humans were here 15,000 years ago, with technology far beyond anything that existed then. The only logical explanation is that they came from the future. Our future? Time travel, Thora said softly. You are suggesting that humans will develop time travel technology. It is the only explanation that fits all the facts, Jake replied. Somehow, at some point in humanity's future, we develop the ability to travel through time. We come back to this era, visit your civilizations, help them through crises, and then return to our own time. That is why we disappeared from your history. That is why there are no human ruins or remains to study. We were never supposed to stay. The implications of this idea spread through the chamber like ripples in water. If humans developed time travel, they would become one of the most powerful species in galactic history. No wonder the legends spoke of humans with such awe and sometimes fear. Counselor Laura stood slowly. This raises a troubling question. If future humans visited us in the past, why did they disappear? Why did they stop coming? Maybe they did not stop, Helen suggested quietly. Maybe we just have not developed the technology yet. From our perspective, it is still in our future. Or maybe something happens, Dravix said grimly. Something that prevents humans from developing time travel. Or something that destroys them before they can. An uncomfortable silence followed. The idea that humanity might face some terrible future crisis was disturbing for everyone, including Lisa and her team. Speaker Thora broke the silence. We are speculating about events that may or may not occur thousands of years from now. What matters today is simpler. Captain Morgan, regardless of what humans may become in the future, what do you want now? Why have you come to us? Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment everything depended on. We came seeking friendship, Speaker Thora. We came hoping to find other species who share our curiosity about the universe, our desire to learn and grow. We came hoping to share knowledge, culture, and perhaps someday stand together as allies. And if we refuse, asked Mirith, then we will respect your decision and leave, Lisa replied simply. We will not force ourselves upon anyone, but I hope you will give us a chance. Yes, our history is mysterious. Yes, there are questions we cannot answer. But we are here now, real and present, offering our hand in friendship. I believe that is worth something. Thora's tentacles moved in patterns Lisa was beginning to recognize as thoughtful consideration. You are correct, Captain. It is worth something. The Council will need time to discuss this situation and make a decision. In the meantime, you and your delegation will be our guests here on Unity Station. We will provide quarters for you and your team. Thank you. Speaker. As the council session ended and Lisa's team was escorted to their temporary quarters, she felt the weight of everything that had happened. Part 3. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tense energy as representatives from across known space debated the arrival of humans. Speaker Thora observed from her elevated position, her ancient eyes taking in every gesture, every word, every subtle shift in the room's mood. She had presided over thousands of meetings during her long life, but none quite like this. Counselor Dravix paced back and forth, his heavy footsteps echoing through the chamber. The massive Korthan warrior was clearly agitated, his thick muscles tensed beneath his armor. "This is madness," he declared, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "We are inviting potential enemies directly into our most important facility. 500 warships sit at our doorstep, and we respond by opening our doors and welcoming them inside. They are not at our doorstep," Counselor Laura corrected gently. The Varaxian diplomat remained seated, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Dravix's aggression. "They are precisely where we asked them to stay. They have made no hostile moves. They have powered no weapons. They have simply waited for our response." "Which could be strategy," Dravix countered. "Make us believe they are peaceful, lower our defenses, then strike when we are vulnerable. It is what I would do." Counselor Vess adjusted his viewing lenses, his 4 eyes studying a holographic display of the human fleet. The scholarly Plixin had spent the past several hours analyzing every detail of the human ships. Commander Kelvin's data suggests their technology is roughly equivalent to ours. Perhaps slightly behind in some areas, slightly ahead in others. They do not appear to possess weapons capable of destroying this station quickly. Even if they attacked, we would have time to mount a defense. "Unless they have weapons we cannot detect," argued Counselor Mirith. The insectoid's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among her species. "We know nothing about these beings. For all we know, they could have technology far beyond our understanding." Speaker Thora raised 3 tentacles, calling for silence. The chamber gradually quieted, though the tension remained. "We are going in circles," she observed. "Let us consider what we know as facts, not speculation. First, these humans claim to come from a region of space we have not explored." "Is this possible?" Counselor Vest nodded. "Absolutely possible, Speaker. Our exploration efforts have focused on areas with high star density and likely habitable worlds. There are vast regions we have barely scanned, let alone visited. If their planet Earth exists in one of these regions, it explains why we never detected them." "Second fact," Thora continued. "These humans match descriptions from our ancient texts. Multiple civilizations have legends about human visitors. These legends share remarkable similarities despite arising independently across different cultures." "What does this suggest?" "That someone visited our ancestors claiming to be human," Laura said thoughtfully. "Whether they were actually the same species as these arrivals, we cannot know. But the descriptions are too consistent to be pure coincidence. Or," Dravix interjected, "these newcomers studied our legends and are impersonating humans to manipulate us, playing on our ancient stories to gain our trust, and to what end?" asked Counselor Irin, a small amphibious being who had been silent until now. "If they wish to conquer us, why not simply attack? Why this elaborate deception?" "Because they are outnumbered," Dravix replied. "The combined fleet of the Galactic Council comprises over 15,000 warships. These humans bring only 500. They cannot win through force, so they try diplomacy. 500 ships is not a small force," Vess pointed out. "It represents significant resources and organization. A species capable of building such a fleet is not to be underestimated, but neither should we assume hostile intent without evidence." Speaker Thora let the debate continue for another hour. She needed to hear all perspectives, all concerns, all possibilities. The decision she made today would affect trillions of lives across hundreds of worlds. It was not something to be rushed. Finally, she spoke again. "I have listened carefully to all arguments. I understand the risks. I also understand the potential benefits of peaceful contact with a new species. Therefore, I propose the following. We will meet with the human delegation as planned. However, security will be increased throughout Unity Station. The combined fleet will move to high alert status. If these humans prove hostile, we will be ready. But we will give them a chance to prove they come in peace. And if it is a trap," Dravix demanded. "Then we will respond with overwhelming force," Thora replied calmly. "But I do not believe it is a trap. I have spent 400 years learning to read beings from dozens of different species. When Commander Kelvin spoke with their captain, I listened to the recording carefully. This Captain Morgan sounds genuinely interested in peaceful contact. There was no deception in her voice, no hidden agenda, just curiosity and hope." "You are gambling the safety of the entire galaxy on your intuition," Mirith said, her mandibles still clicking anxiously. "Not intuition alone," Thora corrected. Intuition backed by 4 centuries of experience. But I understand your concern, Counselor. That is why we are taking precautions. This meeting will take place in a secure chamber. The humans will be scanned for weapons and dangerous technology. Guards will be present. We are being cautious, but we are not being cowardly. The vote was called. The chamber filled with lights of different colors as representatives indicated their positions. When the count finished, the results were close but clear. The majority agreed to meet with the humans under heightened security conditions. As the meeting adjourned, Counselor Laura approached Speaker Thora. "You are taking a great risk," he said quietly. "If this goes wrong, you will be held responsible." "If this goes wrong, I will probably be dead," Thora replied with dry humor. "But I do not believe it will go wrong. These humans have traveled farther than we can imagine to find us. They did not come all this way just to start a war." "I hope you are right." "So do I, Laura. So do I." Several hours later, sensors detected the approach of a small human shuttle. The station went on high alert, though most civilians were unaware of the increased security. Fighter craft positioned themselves along the shuttle's approach route. Weapon batteries came online, though they remained in standby mode. The station's shields increased to maximum strength. Commander Kelvin personally oversaw security in the docking bay. An honor guard of warriors from 6 different species stood at attention, their weapons visible but not aimed. Kelvin had chosen each warrior carefully, selecting those known for discipline and restraint. The last thing he needed was a nervous soldier starting an interstellar incident. The human shuttle entered the bay slowly, its engines humming with a different frequency than any ship Kelvin had heard before. It was smaller than he expected, barely large enough for a dozen occupants. That suggested either great confidence or great foolishness. He suspected it was the former. The shuttle landed smoothly. For a long moment, nothing happened. Kelvin could feel the tension in the bay, everyone holding their breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the craft. Then the shuttle door opened, and the humans appeared. Kelvin had seen images from the ancient texts, of course. He thought he was prepared. But seeing actual humans in person was still startling. They walked on 2 legs like several species did, but their bodies were different. No scales, no chitin, no thick hide, just smooth skin that looked almost fragile. They wore uniforms that seemed more ceremonial than protective, and their faces showed expressions that Kelvin found surprisingly easy to read. The leader, presumably Captain Morgan, stepped forward first. She was smaller than Kelvin expected, but she carried herself with unmistakable authority. Her eyes swept across the honor guard with professional interest, and then she looked directly at Kelvin. "Commander Kelvin, I presume," she said, her voice clear and confident. "Captain Morgan," Kelvin replied, his translator rendering his words in the human language. "Welcome to Unity Station. The council awaits you." As Kelvin led the human delegation through the station's corridors, crowds gathered to watch. Civilians pressed against barriers, trying to get a glimpse of the legendary beings. Some looked frightened. Others appeared curious. Many seemed simply amazed that humans were real. The walk to the council chamber took 15 minutes. Kelvin used the time to observe the humans. They moved with confidence but not arrogance. They looked around with obvious interest, taking in the architecture and the diverse species they passed. One of them, an older female with gray hair, seemed particularly fascinated by everything she saw. Finally, they reached the council chamber. The massive doors opened, revealing the full assembly of galactic representatives. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species filled the tiered seating. At the center, Speaker Thora waited in her suspension pod. Captain Morgan paused at the threshold, taking in the sight. Then she walked forward, her team following closely behind. She stopped at the designated position and looked up at Speaker Thora. "Speaker Thora," Morgan said, bowing respectfully. "On behalf of humanity and the planet Earth, I thank you for agreeing to meet with us. This is a historic moment for my species." "It is a historic moment for all species," Thora replied. "Welcome, Captain Morgan. Welcome, humans. You have traveled far to find us. Now let us—" Part 2. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the UNS Lincoln, watching the view screen display the alien space station growing larger as they approached. She had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment, training for first contact with alien species. Now that the moment had arrived, she felt surprisingly calm. Perhaps it was because she had imagined this scenario 1,000 times, or perhaps it was simply the weight of responsibility forcing her to stay focused. The bridge hummed with quiet activity around her. Officers worked at their stations, monitoring systems and analyzing data streaming in from the alien civilization they had discovered. The Lincoln was the flagship of humanity's exploration fleet, carrying the best and brightest Earth had to offer. Behind them, 499 other ships maintained perfect formation, waiting for orders. Lieutenant Peter Hayes turned from the communications console, his young face showing excitement mixed with nervousness. "Captain, we are still receiving no response to our friendship broadcasts. The alien ships are definitely tracking us, though. Their sensors are locked onto our position. How many ships are moving to intercept us?" Lisa asked, keeping her voice steady. Commander Jake Sullivan checked his tactical display. 30 warships have broken formation and are heading our way. They are not powering weapons yet, but their shields are up and they look ready for trouble. Lisa smiled slightly. 30 ships to meet 500. Either these aliens were extremely confident in their technology, or they were not prepared for something like this. She suspected it was the latter. After all, how could anyone prepare for meeting a species that was supposed to be mythological? Dr. Helen Carter looked up from the science station. The older woman had been studying alien signals and transmissions since they first detected this civilization. Her gray hair was tied back in a practical bun, and her eyes sparkled with scientific curiosity.
"Captain, I have been analyzing their communication patterns.
They are definitely surprised by our presence. Their encrypted military channels are absolutely flooded with traffic. Can you tell what they are saying? Not specifically, but the pattern suggests confusion and debate. They are trying to figure out what to do about us." Lisa nodded. That made sense. Humans had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. These aliens had clearly believed they knew all the spacefaring species that existed. Finding out they were wrong must be shocking for them. "Captain, incoming transmission," Peter announced suddenly. "Audio only, but our translation software is working on it." "Put it through." A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. The computer translated the alien language into English with only a slight delay. "Unidentified vessels. This is Fleet Commander Kelvin of the Zenthari Imperial Defense Force. You are approaching sovereign territory without authorization. Identify yourselves immediately or we will open fire." Lisa took a deep breath. This was it, the moment humanity announced itself to the galaxy. "Open a channel, Peter." "Channel open, Captain." "Commander Kelvin, this is Captain Lisa Morgan of the United Nations Starship Lincoln. We represent humanity and the planet Earth. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your civilization. We mean no harm to you or your people." Silence followed. Lisa could almost feel the confusion on the other end of the transmission. She waited patiently, knowing that what she had just said probably contradicted everything these aliens thought they knew about the universe. "Earth is a myth," Kelvin finally replied, though his voice carried less certainty than his words suggested. "Humans do not exist. You must be some other species attempting deception." Lisa glanced at Jake, who shrugged with a slight grin. This was going to be an interesting conversation. "Commander, I can assure you that we exist. We are quite real. We have traveled 140 years to reach your region of space. We detected your civilization's energy signatures and came to make contact." Another long pause. 140 years? Kelvin sounded genuinely shocked. "Your ships traveled for 140 years? "Our ships, yes. Though we use suspended animation for the crew, so subjectively it has only been a few months for us. Our technology allows us to sleep through the long journey between stars." Helen leaned close to Lisa and whispered, "He is stalling. Probably contacting his superiors for instructions." Lisa nodded but kept her attention on the viewscreen. The alien warships had stopped advancing and now held position about 10,000 kilometers away. Far enough to be safe, close enough to attack quickly if needed. "Maintain your current position," Kelvin ordered. "Do not move closer to our territory. I must contact the Galactic Council and report this situation. Any aggressive action from your fleet will be met with overwhelming force." "Understood, Commander. We will hold position here. We look forward to speaking with your council." The transmission ended. Jake let out a breath he had been holding. "Well, that went better than some of the scenarios we planned for. At least they did not shoot first." "They are scared," Helen observed, studying the readings from the alien ships. "Look at their formation. They are trying to appear strong, but those ships are positioned defensively, not offensively. They have no idea what to make of us." Lisa returned to her command chair and sat down, feeling the tension in her shoulders. Peter, send a message to all ships in the fleet. We hold position here until further notice. No one does anything that could be interpreted as hostile. We have come too far to start an interstellar war by accident. Yes, Captain. Over the next several hours, the bridge crew watched as more alien ships arrived. Not warships, but what appeared to be science vessels and newscraft. Word was spreading fast through the alien civilization. Humans were real and they had arrived with an armada. Helen spent the time analyzing every transmission she could intercept. This is fascinating, she said, showing Lisa her findings. They have stories about us, Captain. Old stories, ancient legends. From what I can piece together, humans are part of their mythology. They think we visited their ancestors thousands of years ago. That is impossible, Lisa said. We have only had space travel for 3 centuries. We definitely did not visit anyone thousands of years ago. I know. But the stories exist. And now that we have shown up, they do not know what to believe. Their entire understanding of history is being challenged. Lisa thought about that. Humanity had always wondered about ancient astronaut theories, stories of advanced beings visiting Earth in prehistoric times. Most people dismissed such tales as fantasy. But what if something similar had happened to these aliens? What if someone or something had visited them long ago claiming to be human? The mystery would have to wait. Right now they had more immediate concerns. Captain, another transmission from Commander Kelvin, Peter announced. On speaker. Captain Morgan. Kelvin's voice had changed. He sounded less aggressive now, more formal. The Galactic Council has agreed to meet with your delegation. They request that you and a small group of representatives come aboard Unity Station, their primary governmental facility. You will be guaranteed safe passage. Lisa stood up. This was what they had hoped for. We accept the Council's invitation, Commander. When would they like us to arrive? As soon as you are able. The Council is quite eager to meet actual humans. We will depart within the hour. Captain Morgan out. As the transmission ended, Lisa turned to her crew. Jake, you are with me. Helen, I want you there too. Peter, assemble a team of 4 others. Scientists, diplomats, people who can keep their cool under pressure. What about security? Jake asked. 2 security officers, but they stay unarmed. We are going as peaceful ambassadors, not conquerors. We need to show these aliens that we can be trusted. Helen looked concerned. Captain, are you sure that is wise? We have no idea what we are walking into. No, I'm not sure, Lisa admitted. But sometimes you have to take risks to achieve something important. We came here to find other intelligent life and make friends. We cannot do that by hiding behind weapons. An hour later, a small shuttle detached from the Lincoln and headed toward the alien space station. Inside, Lisa and her team sat quietly, each lost in their own thoughts. They were about to become the first humans in recorded history to meet aliens face to face. The station grew larger in the viewport, a massive structure that dwarfed their tiny shuttle. Lisa could see dozens of different architectural styles blended together, suggesting many species contributed to its construction. It was beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Here we go, Jake said quietly. Here we go, Lisa agreed, watching as their shuttle entered the station's docking bay. Whatever happened next would shape humanity's future for generations to come. Part 1. The Grand Council chamber floated in the center of Unity Station, a massive structure that had witnessed 3,000 years of galactic peace. Inside the chamber, representatives from 12 major species gathered for what they believed would be a routine meeting. The ancient walls glowed with soft amber light, casting long shadows across the polished floor where countless decisions had shaped the fate of civilizations. Commander Kelvin walked through the massive doors, his blue scales reflecting the chamber's light. He was a Xanthari, a species known for their military discipline and sharp minds. Today his usual confidence had cracked. His hands trembled slightly as he carried a data tablet containing information that would shake the very foundations of everything the Council believed to be true. Speaker Thora watched him approach from her suspension pod. She was old, even by Velcrin standards, and her silver tentacles had faded to almost white with age. She had seen many strange things during her centuries of service, but something about Kelvin's expression made her uncomfortable. The chamber fell silent as the commander reached the center platform. Kelvin activated his tablet and holographic images appeared above him, floating in the air for all to see. The images showed sleek vessels moving through space in perfect formation. The ships looked nothing like any known design in the galactic database. Their hulls were smooth and gray, with unusual markings along their sides. "Honorable members of the Council," Kelvin began, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "6 cycles ago, my scout fleet detected these vessels approaching from the outer rim. We have never seen their design before. They do not match any known species in our records." Councillor Dravix, a massive warrior from the Korthan species, leaned forward in his seat. His species had fought in every major conflict for the past millennium, and his instincts told him this was trouble. "How many ships?" he asked in his deep, rumbling voice. "Over 500 vessels, Councillor, all moving in coordinated formation, all heading directly towards Zenthari space." A wave of shocked murmurs spread through the chamber. 500 warships represented a significant military force, larger than many species possessed in their entire fleet. The fact that they appeared from nowhere made the situation even more alarming. Councillor Mirith clicked her mandibles together in agitation. Her insectoid species valued logic above all else, and this situation defied logical explanation. "This is impossible," she declared. "Our sensor networks cover all known space. No species could build such a fleet without our knowledge." "That is what concerns me most," Kelvin replied. He zoomed the hologram closer to one of the ships. Strange symbols became visible on its hull, symbols that looked both alien and somehow familiar. These markings match an ancient language found only in our oldest archives, a language we believed was mythological. Speaker Thora's tentacles coiled tightly, a sign of deep concern. "What language, Commander?" "Terran script, Speaker. The written language of humans." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some council members laughed, thinking it was some kind of joke. Others shouted in disbelief. A few simply sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just heard. Humans were the subject of ancient stories told across dozens of worlds. According to legend, they were powerful beings who had visited the galaxy long ago, performing miraculous deeds before vanishing without a trace. Every spacefaring civilization had some version of the story in their mythology. But that was all they were supposed to be: stories. Myths created by primitive cultures trying to explain things they could not understand. Councillor Vess, a scholarly Plixen with 4 eyes that missed nothing, adjusted his viewing lenses and studied the hologram carefully. "Commander, are you suggesting these vessels are crewed by humans? The humans from our legends?" "I am not suggesting anything, Councillor. I am reporting what we have observed. These ships use technology comparable to our own. They have responded to our hails with mathematical greetings, indicating intelligence and peaceful intent. And they specifically identify themselves as human vessels from a planet called Earth." "Earth is a myth," Councillor Mirith insisted. "There is no such planet in any star chart." "No chart we possess," Kelvin corrected. "But our charts do not cover the entire universe. There are regions we have never explored, areas too far or too dangerous to reach." Speaker Thora raised her tentacles, calling for order. The chamber gradually fell silent, though the tension remained thick in the air. She had ruled long enough to know that dismissing evidence because it seemed impossible was foolish. "Commander Kelvin, what actions have these ships taken since your fleet detected them?" "They have maintained their position at the edge of our sensor range, Speaker. They have not powered weapons. They have not launched attack craft. They have simply waited, broadcasting friendship messages in every mathematical language known to science. They are waiting for us to respond." Dravik stood, his massive frame dominating the council floor. "This could be a trick. An elaborate deception designed to lower our defenses before they strike. I recommend we mobilize the combined fleet immediately and prepare for war." "I recommend we learn more before making such drastic decisions," countered Councillor Laura, a diplomatic Varaxian known for his calm wisdom. "If these beings truly are hostile, they could have attacked already. Instead, they wait and communicate. That suggests they seek dialogue, not conflict." The debate raged for hours. Some councillors demanded immediate military action. Others wanted to study these mysterious ships from a distance. A few suggested simply ignoring them and hoping they would go away. Through it all, Speaker Thora listened carefully to every argument, weighing the risks and possibilities. Finally, she made her decision. "We will not attack beings who have made no hostile moves. But neither will we be careless. Commander Kelvin, instruct your fleet to maintain defensive positions. Do not fire unless fired upon. We will send a message to these humans inviting them to send representatives to this station for negotiations. And if they refuse, Dravix demanded, then we will know their true intentions, Thora replied calmly. But I do not believe they will refuse. Something tells me these humans have traveled a very long way to find us. They will want to talk. The vote was called. Despite strong opposition from the military faction, the majority agreed with Thora's plan. Messages were sent to the mysterious fleet. Now all they could do was wait for a response. In his private chambers later that night, Kelvin reviewed the ancient texts about humans again. The stories spoke of beings who walked upright on two legs, with only two eyes and strange, flexible skin instead of scales or chitin. They were described as curious, brave, and sometimes frighteningly determined. The text said they had appeared during a time of great crisis, helped several civilizations survive impossible odds, then vanished as mysteriously as they had arrived. Kelvin had always assumed these stories were allegorical, meant to teach lessons rather than record actual history. Now he was not so sure. If these ships really did belong to humans, then the galaxy was about to rediscover a species that had been relegated to bedtime stories for 3,000 years. The question was, would this rediscovery bring peace or war? Only time would tell.